Hey everybody, decided to make a new video. I know it's been a while, but I've been inspired recently because I've been streaming a little bit more. I stream on TikTok and on YouTube here, and I just kind of feel like trying something a little new. Um, I've had some pretty interesting New Year's goals, and one of them's been really helpful so far, and I wanted to share it with you just to give you a little insight into how I'm thinking of it and how it can probably benefit you because I've told a couple of my friends and they all seem really intrigued by it. To get straight to the point, really what I'm talking about is just doing journaling and keeping up with what you're learning and how you're growing. Because I feel like in the everyday life, you're not really thinking about what you're improving on or what you're getting better at because progress is just so slow. And it's kind of one of those things that seemingly is invisible until you feel like that you're at some big milestone. And I've felt that same thing for a long time in my life where, a couple years go by and you're like, what have I really improved on? What's something that I'm getting better at? How am I really transcending into where I want my goals to be, or even figuring out what your goals are. And if you aren't really keeping track of yourself day to day and just writing down what you're learning and how you're feeling, what you did that day, what you've been thinking about, you don't really see the progress over time. It just kind of like happens without you being able to like reflect on it. And what I've been doing is just keeping a journal in OneNote. I mean, you can use the other popular apps like Notion or Evernote, whatever really works for you. It doesn't matter which one it necessarily is. I personally enjoy something that's on a digital device just because you can access it anywhere and easier. Like if you're just riding with somebody in your car or traveling somewhere and you can just whip out your phone, update it there. Or if you're at home on your computer and want to type it out, it's just the syncing between devices to where you can access it anywhere is really the important part that I've realized, or else it can be easy to lose your journal if you're actually handwriting everything down, um, or you just don't think of it as much because you're not interacting with the journal every day unless you go out of your way to do it. But I would say that it's something that's really made me see how things are changing and evolving in my life. Plus, you can kind of reference it back to any specific thing that might be happening at any current moment to help you essentially analyze how that situation's going. Like if you have some type of like medical issue going on and you're not too sure what it is and you kind of want to journal a little bit about it because you feel some anxiety or panic about it, but you don't really feel like that's something super major just yet, just write it out and see how you're feeling that day, and then see what happens day to day as it progresses, if it's getting better or worse. Same with anything else in your life, like if you feel like that your diet's getting better or worse, if you're working out more, if you're keeping up with your goals or hobbies in a productive way that you want to keep going with. You can just write it out and say, I need to reanalyze how I'm going about my year or my goals. And that just helps you, in general, have a catalog of your life. And you can reference back toward it, which, so many times in my life I would just write notes down and then never go back to it just because I felt like maybe I would need it in the future or maybe I would eventually run back into it. And now that I have this and a bunch of other notes on books or other topics that I've learned, it's like I can just go back to this huge diary, or I guess you could just say like note taking extravaganza that I've had for my, past 4 years, and just see what I've been up to. The thing of it is just keeping consistent on it, just like anything. You just gotta stay consistent with it, keep going, and make it a priority of your day. Otherwise, it just goes by the wayside, and then you kind of don't worry about it as much because it just feels like another thing to check off your to-do list. But you can really see it as any type of thing that you want it to be. Like if you want to talk about your goals, or if you want to talk about some situation that's bothering you, or if you want to talk about something that you've been thinking about, whether it's starting a new hobby, getting into some other type of business venture, it's unlimited, it's whatever your mind comes up with. Plus it's like a journal of your life, so why not just see what you got going on and contribute toward it. I also feel like whenever you don't do something like this, your brain just kind of tells you that maybe your year was just a failure, or it doesn't remember the wins, but it remembers more of the struggles and the bad moments. And I think that that's just not a honest way to think of how you're living your life, because it's not true. I mean, we're gonna all have setbacks for sure, and writing down your setbacks is another key aspect of it, of the journaling process. But you're still gonna have wins through that experience, and it's gonna allow you to even more analyze what helps you make something a win or a failure, instead of just thinking that everything's been a failure. Because we're all trying to grow. We're all trying to be the best person that we can be. I mean, ideally, that's what I at least like to think of people wanting to do for themselves, So I think there's a couple of like good things to always write down. And for me, it's writing down the biggest win of the day and the biggest struggle, because we're going to have one of each in just about every single day. Even if the win is a big win and the struggle is a small struggle, or vice versa. But write those two things down, and it can be anything. It can just be like, I stuck with my diet today is the big win, and the big loss is I fumbled my words in a conversation. I mean, you could even talk about like your anxieties. I don't know. I'm just really emphasizing how this is a great framework to see what your life is in the moment. Because, 2 years from now, you're not going to remember what today exactly was. You're not going to remember what you were thinking, what big win you had, what big struggle you had. And you're just going to be like, yeah, it was just another day. And that's how most of us live our lives. But if you actually have some reference point to where you can be like, my big win on this day was that I got a new car, or that I asked that person out, or I decided to take the leap and try something new. That's going to be an exciting thing to see that happen, and then you see it happening maybe more times, and then you see various struggles that you overcame. I think that's just kind of an exciting thing to have for your life. And I know it probably sounds like a common trope of what people tell you ought to do, kind of like reading or working out or getting good sleep, drinking a lot of water. It's kind of one of those like pillar things. But I think that the hardest part really is just setting it up and getting it into a habit of doing it, so that you're writing every day and that you're getting more comfortable with the habit of it. Because I think people just don't necessarily know what app to use, or they feel like that they have to write it down on pen and paper, and then it just kind of like falls off quickly. But look into some apps, give it a good shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not saying that this is a perfect, perfect method to figure out everything in your life. I mean, nothing really is. It's just another tool to help you out and give you some more internal advice for yourself on what's been the biggest issues. And then you can even go stem from that to find how to answer certain questions or solve certain issues that you may have. And a lot of times I would just forget about the questions that I had, and then it would go nowhere. Then I would still kind of be at step one and not grow as quickly as I could have. So I think it's just a great tool for growth, and it's a great tool for understanding yourself more. Give it a shot. I'm giving it a shot this year. So far, it's been pretty cool. It's not the craziest thing, but over time, I think that you see the progression and the change, and that makes you realize that it's a worthwhile venture. Thanks for tuning in if you stayed this far. Like I said, I'm streaming on YouTube and on TikTok. Been playing some Oblivion right now, as you can tell. But I have a catalog of games that I'm wanting to play this year. Big RPG guy, so that's what you can expect. Alright, thanks. Peace.